Look, I think this is a real threat to the open internet. I'm really concerned about the language that's been used that basically speaks to protecting the safety and security of the American people by actively monitoring network traffic and making decisions about what network traffic is and isn't allowed to be transmitted across the open internet. It's the first time that I think in the United States we are seeing like a real threat and a real set of behaviors from our government that looks and feels a lot like what goes on in China and elsewhere, where they operate with a closed internet, an internet that's controlled, monitored, observed, tracked, and gates are decided by some set of administrators on what is and isn't appropriate.
Restricting the Emergence of Security Threats to Information and Communications Technology Act, Senate Bill 686, was recently introduced by Republican senators. The bill's implications go far beyond just blocking TikTok. In reality, it's an effort to restrict users' freedom and security while online and essentially nationalize the internet. The bill's goal is to place restrictions on TikTok and similar services that could be harmful to national security. The implications for online free speech and personal privacy are substantial. Critics of the Restrict Act, including the American Civil Liberties Union, say it poses an unacceptable risk to users' rights and privacy on the internet. The future of the internet may be affected by the bill that is currently being debated in Congress. The United States government has issued an ultimatum to ByteDance, the Chinese firm that owns the TikTok video sharing app, sell the app or face a nationwide ban. TikTok has shown no signs of selling, instead focusing on persuading officials that they can meet proposed levels of scrutiny and address security concerns. The CEO of TikTok has stated that a ban would not address security concerns, but the impact of such a ban on users has yet to be determined. Is there a case study of a similar ban somewhere? However, since free speech is protected by the First Amendment, banning TikTok would be illegal. If it is not absolutely necessary to prevent extremely serious immediate harm to national security, the government cannot impose a total ban, says Jen 11 Tove, Senior Policy Counsel at the ACLU. In addition to the lack of any publicly available evidence of such harm, a ban would not be the only possible response even if one did exist. The communities and connections that people in the United States have with one another and with people around the world would be disrupted if selective bans of entire platforms were to cut off the flow of information, art, and communication that social media provides. TikTok has become a hub for political organizing for a large number of Americans who are protesting what they see as an unconstitutional ban. The First Amendment was written to protect precisely this sort of political speech on platforms like TikTok. 2 bills have been proposed recently that would make TikTok unavailable in the United States. Under the Data Act, the president could impose sanctions on foreign companies dealing in software that is either controlled by or falls under the jurisdiction of the Chinese government and is suspected of aiding in a wide range of illegal activities. The Restrict Act would give the Secretary of Commerce additional power to prevent threats to national security from a foreign adversary's pursuit of certain types of information and communications technology. The ACLU, however, has deemed both bills to be an intolerable assault on our constitutionally protected free speech. In the most recent episode of the All In podcast, the Besties discussed their worries about the Restriction Act and its potential effects on individual liberties in the United States.
And the language is always the same. It's for safety and security of the people. The entire purpose of the internet is that it did not have bounds, that it did not have governments, that it did not have controls, that it did not have systems that are politically and economically influenced, that the architecture of the internet was and always would be open. The protocols are open. The transmission of data on that network would be open. And as a result, all people around the world would have access to information of their choosing. And it allowed ultimate freedom of choice. You know, this kind of is the first of what I'm concerned creates a precedent that ultimately leads to a very slippery slope. Saying that TikTok cannot make money in the US by charging advertisers or managing commerce flows is one thing. That's where the government can and should and could, if they chose to, have a role. But I think going in and observing, tracking internet traffic and making decisions about what is and isn't appropriate for people, I think is one of the things that we all should be most concerned about what's going on right now. There is no end in sight to this if you allow this to happen in the first time. You know, VPNs, virtual private networks, allow you to anonymously access internet traffic and access internet traffic via remote destinations. So that the ultimate consumption of content that you're using can't be tracked and monitored by local agencies or ISPs. And I think that saying that can now be restricted takes away all ability to have true privacy and all rights to privacy on the open internet. So I'd love to talk about this more. Unfortunately, I got to run. But
great seeing
this
you.
is a super threat to me, and I think this is something we should be super concerned about, and that the entire community of technology, internet, and anyone that wants to have freedom of choice steps up and says this is totally inappropriate and overreach.
This is the biggest bait and switch that Washington, the central government, has ever tried to pull on us. Everybody thinks that they're just trying to ban TikTok from operating in the US. And if that's all they did, then I think the bill would be supported by most Americans. But that's not what they're doing. They're not restricting TikTok, they're restricting us. It's a huge bait and switch. And so just so you know, what the act provides is that a US citizen using a VPN to access TikTok could theoretically be subjected to a maximum penalty of $1 million in fines or 20 years in prison or both. Now, they'll say, Mark Warner, the sponsor of the legislation, will swear up and down that's not the intent. But the problem is that the language of the bill is so vague that some clever prosecutor may want to pursue this theory one day, and that needs to be stopped. Also, there's another problem with the bill, which is you think this is just about TikTok. It's not. What they do is, it says here, I guess they don't want to mention TikTok by name, so they're trying to create a category of threatening application. But because it is a category, it's very, very broad. So the bill states that it covers any transaction, not just an app, in which an entity described in subparagraph B has any interest. And then entities described in subparagraph B are, quote, a foreign adversary, an entity subject to the jurisdiction of or organized under the laws of a foreign adversary, an entity owned, directed, or controlled by either of these. And then it gives the executive branch the power to name a foreign adversary, any foreign government regime that one of the cabinet secretaries defines, without any vote of Congress. So this is giving sweeping powers to the executive branch to declare, foreign companies to be enemies. This is going to give sweeping powers to the security state to surveil us, to prosecute us, to limit our internet usage. This is basically the biggest power grab and bait and switch they've ever tried to pull on us. And again, if they really were concerned about TikTok, it's one sentence.
The bill has been criticized for its potential impact on individual privacy and online freedom, despite the fact that its stated goal is to limit the emergence of security threats that risk information and communications technology. The bill, if passed, would give the Secretary of Commerce the authority to assess and address threats to national security posed by foreign entities' control of information and communications technology. The bill isn't specifically directed at TikTok, but rather any platform that poses a threat to national security. Everything from smartphones to social media sites to other apps fall under this category. The potential effects of this bill on people's right to privacy and freedom on the internet cannot be overstated. People's freedom of expression and access to information could be severely curtailed if authorities were given the authority to regulate and restrict the use of certain technologies. It is possible that people's access to social media and other communication and information sharing apps could be restricted or outright prohibited. In addition, the bill has the potential to stifle entrepreneurial spirit and technological innovation. Companies may be hesitant to invest in new ideas and innovations if the government is allowed to dictate what technologies are acceptable. This may reduce innovation and slow the growth of the technology market. The effects of the bill on diplomatic ties are also important to weigh. The already tense relationship between the United States and China may be exacerbated by the passage of the Restrict Act. Already, China has threatened retaliation in response to the bill, and if it passes, it could increase diplomatic and economic tensions between the United States and China. The bill may also have an adverse effect by reducing employment opportunities in the IT sector. Forced compliance with government regulations could result in layoffs and the closure of businesses, especially those with connections to foreign entities. In conclusion, Senate Bill 686, also known as the Restrict Act, could have far-reaching consequences. It might make it harder for people to share ideas and information, slow down the creation of new businesses, aggravate already tense international relations, and lead to the loss of jobs. Policymakers should give careful consideration to the potential impact on individuals and the technology industry, as the bill continues to be debated and amended. Thank you for tuning in to Market Empire, where we aim to provide you with valuable information that can help you stay ahead of the curve in the world of finance. Now that you've heard the Besties warning, what steps are you taking to prepare for what's ahead? Share your thoughts and ideas in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more updates on market trends and investment opportunities.